I would go for this as my favorite at the moment right now, because I also just gave one to my mom as well. Because she was like, I really want something, and I was like, okay, I'll give you this. This is where the magic happens.
Because if you look at the history of clothing, like culturally, the Japanese are very well preserved in their kimonos and the geisha world. And then you have Indians who have the saris, and all of that clothing is still very rich and embraced in their culture. But the Chinese, like tang and Qipao, is something that's not so integrated.
But if we wear Qipao now, people be like, what happened today? Is it Chinese New Year?
We put it into this category where it's festivals and celebratory wear, and it's not really everyday wear. So if you do wear it every day, you will get a certain look of like, oh my god, I'm lo toga. But it's like, how do we break away from that mindset? Hello, I'm Jason. I'm one half of Yat Pit.
Hi, I'm On-ying. I'm another part of Yat Pit.
From the start of the brand, it was always about bringing traditional Chinese wear into nowadays where it's relevant and people understand it. We really looked at our own way we dressed, what clothing we owned, and then from that we was like, oh, there's something missing here. We want to wear it, but it's not available yet. The wardrobe is dominated by t-shirts and jeans, and it's a very daily necessity that everybody wears. But the Chinese, like tang and Qipao, is something that's not so integrated. The root of the idea was to use all the Chinese elements. I mean, the history of all the different dynasties, and
there's literally so much you can learn from. There's like, what, 5,000 years of history.
Even for us to understand it more and how those pieces of clothing can fit into your daily wardrobe.
When we living in some Qipao, you can't avoid seeing all these inspiration, and those starting to infuse into our research, and then slowly we realize the picture is very clear that we should be doing some Qipao, Hong Kong, Chinese culture inspired.
I feel like the first collection was definitely shapes based, because we were really looking at, you know, the Qing dynasty, like the shapes of all the traditional women's clothing, and it was very opposite to how the Western corset was. It was very figure hugging. It showed the feminine body and the busts, but in the Chinese world, it was very just fabric, you know, you were just covered up, and maybe you'd have these tiny feet, but then you had these big, like on top, it was a huge oversized shape.
And we're comparing this shape with the Western hip-hop style.
Baggy, yeah. But we didn't intentionally want to make it cool. We want to make it relevant, but with our own kind of like weirdness and our own touch. I feel like that's how sometimes our research happens, is that it's just a feeling of like, why am I so obsessed with this new button or this hem of the trouser or this new shoe or this research that we found, and we get really obsessed and we kind of fall into that kind of mode of like breaking it all apart and then regurgitating it in a way that is our own. We're a little bit like scavengers. We like to collect stuff, and we have loads of like bits of, it could be like a vest top, then it could be like some things that we've printed out, that we've seen, and then we just collect it all together, and then eventually when we're at that point where we're actually designing pieces, those research items come out, and then it helps us along with that process.
These are photos taken by our dearest friend Ran Hang. This is actually the second slot of photos by him.
I think 2020 we're embracing a lot more than we used to in terms of Chinese clothing. Obviously, I think for the past few years, as you can see, like the wave of people going back and searching into their culture and their roots and embracing it. Even if you look at the Matrix and the costumes that they do in it, it's very heavily influenced by Chinese wear. People who get it are already there first, wearing stuff like that. Like, there's definitely something in that quality that people navigate towards, because it represents a certain zenness and beauty, and you know, when you're dressed in that Chinese wear. In an outfit, it's always nice when you're personalizing it with your own styling, and maybe you don't want to wear the Kung Fu shoes, maybe you want to wear it with a different like sneaker or a leather laced up Dr. Martens shoe, or just I think those details that you insert in your look will make it not so like, oh my god, that's really, okay, I get it now, you're wearing like head to toe Chinese wear, I get it. Like, whereas what you want to do is not be so obvious, so that maybe...
It's like a yin-yang mix,
it's
right?
a yin-yang thing,
Yeah.
there's got to be a good marbling of things, you know? That for us, our intuition is to tell us, don't overuse it. Let's reinterpret it in our way.